Back here on the Big Ten Huddle. Appreciate all of you being here. Yes, we are going to talk next about the Big Ten quarterback outlook for 2025. We'll focus on the starters. I'm not going to get super in depth into every single quarterback on the roster for every team. That would take forever. And then also, I don't think people care about the third string quarterback of Maryland. No offense, Maryland fans. I don't think people care. I know you care, but most other people don't. Illinois, we'll start at the top and then we'll go on down. If you guys have thoughts on who you think your starter is or should be or anything like that, put them in the chat and I might skip around, but I'm gonna go from the bottom to the top in alphabetical order. So Illinois, their starter obviously is gonna be Luke Altmyer. He comes back and he's gonna have his third year of starting for Illinois. He is a transfer. Going to be a huge year, I believe, for Luke Altmyer, as long as they can surround him with good wide receiver play like they did this year. The offensive line should improve. Really felt like Illinois was able to figure out their running game a little bit more later into the year. So if they can capitalize on all those things and improve the offense in those ways, they're going to look for a better year for Luke Altmyer in Illinois. I had some people when I did my Heisman watch thing. What was it? It was right after the Heisman ceremony for 2025. I had some people mentioning Luke Altmyer. I mean, I would love that. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if anybody from Illinois is going to win a Heisman um, anytime soon. And I hate to say that because I don't want that to be the case, but if I'm just looking at it realistically, you're probably going to see if the Big Ten gets a Heisman, you're probably going to see it happen from an Oregon, an Ohio State, a USC, a lot of these bigger brands. Now, a guy from Colorado did just win the Heisman, but I think that Dion kind of aided him more in that. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but I think Ohio State, USC, Oregon, Penn State, those are the guys you're probably going to be looking at to possibly win the Heisman next year for the Big Ten. Could Luke Altmyer do it? Sure. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. Indiana, Fernando Mendoza. I believe this will be his third year starting. And correct me if I'm wrong. John, you might be able to know for sure. Is this the third year for Fernando Mendoza? He started every game, well, pretty much every game this year. Yep, and then he started the week 6 game against Oregon State. So I'll count that for him. How many games is that? That's 8 games in 2023. So yes, Fernando Mendoza will be the starting quarterback. He is a transfer this year. This will be his third year starting, and John Jacobs letting us know Mendoza has 2 years of eligibility left. That's huge for Indiana. Getting a guy who has 2 years of pretty much 2 years of starter experience, and he also has 2 years of eligibility remaining. That's awesome. So, Eric is talking more about Gronowski, so let's go ahead and skip down to Iowa, which actually Iowa's next. So, she says Gronowski will be QB1 at Iowa. Solely will be QB2 and maybe some packages. Perhaps Lester runs a dual QB system. Also, I think Stratton will transfer. I heard that he either is expected to or has been in the portal. The portal's closed by now, so if he is going to transfer, he would have already needed to be in there. But I did not double check on Stratton before I got on here. I apologize. But yes, that would be my expectation as well. That's what I think. Mark Gronowski will be QB1. Brendan Sullivan will be QB2. I think that they want to kind of keep molding him, keep getting him to be better. I honestly think Brendan Sullivan just needs reps. I think that's what it is. I think that he has a lot of some good skill sets, and I think it works well with he'll enter the spring portal, Erica says. Okay, into the spring portal. That 10-day window there in April. But I really like Brendan Sullivan. I was advocating for him to be the starter last year with Cade McNamara. I'm glad that he eventually got his chance. I think that it really helped him in his development. I think if Brendan Sullivan is willing to stick around, which I don't know why you wouldn't be. I mean, Mark Gronowski is not going to be there much more than 1 year. It's going to be huge for him to get another year kind of learning back there, and huge for Iowa as well. So Gronowski going to have a good year, I think, as long as Tim Lester's system is able to kind of implement and do those things. So I'm excited for Iowa's offense next year. Wow, never thought I'd say that. But I am. I mean, I am. I think Tim Lester did some good things this year. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good time. Oh, Erica says Sully only has 1 year left. I thought he was younger than that. Oh, that stinks. He might go into the the winter portal then. I thought he had 2 years left. My apologies. My apologies. How long was he at Northwestern for? He was at Northwestern. Well, the 5th year of eligibility might change things. You never know. That was going to be something that we could talk about as a possible, keeping some of these guys on. I don't know if that would affect Gronowski. I feel like Gronowski, after 4 years of starting in college football, he'd probably want to move on. But yeah, if we pull up Brendan Sullivan, yeah, he's 2021 class. I thought he was 2022 class. I completely missed that first year there. So yeah, sounds like he's only got 1 year left. So thanks for keep me straight there, Erica. All right, let's get to the next one, which is Justyn Martin, Maryland. Justyn Martin transfers in. Looked like there was going to be a QB battle between him and MJ Morris, the transfer from NC State this last year. And Erica's an Iowa fan. There we go. We need some more Iowa fans here. We got Indiana and Illinois fans. Now we have an Iowa fan. We've completed the eyes of the Big Ten. There we go. We now have a fan of every single eye in the Big Ten. I love it. Justyn Martin, he started against Penn State this past year. I thought he did a good job. Didn't turn the ball. Well, he didn't have a pick. I don't remember if he had a fumble or not. I don't think he turned the ball over at all in that one. That was a game that UCLA was in it more than maybe they should have been, and some people were kind of critiquing Penn State a little bit in that one. I didn't personally do it. I just thought, you put in a new quarterback, and sometimes the offense can change a little bit, and it's harder to scout for that. Penn State pulled away later on, if I remember correctly, in that game, so I wasn't too worried about it. But he threw for 160 some yards, I believe, a touchdown, no interceptions. So going up against a very good Penn State defense like that at Happy Valley too, it wasn't a whiteout or anything. I believe it was a noon game, but I mean, just a good performance from him. So we'll see what he can be at Maryland. Oh, and in high school, he threw 13 touchdown passes. 13 touchdown passes in one game in high school. So, if Mike Locksley wants to get himself a guy who is willing to throw the ball a lot, he got himself one there. So, yeah, Justyn Martin, I think good addition for Maryland. Michigan is next. I think Michigan is going to be our first kind of really question mark at who we look at here. So they have Mikey Keene from Fresno State. Philip, I don't know if you're still in the chat, but I know you were, of the mindset that Bryce Underwood would start next year at Michigan. I believe he will as well. Zack seemed to believe that Mikey Keene would start for the year, and then they would go to Bryce Underwood the next year. I mean, anything's possible, and I don't mean to, throw shade at Zack and say that Zack was wrong or anything like that, but I feel like you're paying Bryce Underwood that much money to come in and to play. Like, I think you got to give him the starter role. If you don't, like, Mikey Keene is going to make a bigger impact in Big Ten drama than he is on the field at Michigan if he starts. I don't mean to be rude to Mikey Keene, and I think Mikey Keene would have been better than any option they had in this past year. Like, he would have been better than any of the quarterbacks they had. But I just, like, NIL matters, right? NIL matters, and who plays and who doesn't play for your program. So the way I look at it, you pay him that much NIL, he's going to have to start. So if he doesn't start game one, he'll start game two, game three, game eight. He's going to start at some point next year. And I think that's ultimately why Billy Edwards Jr. didn't go to Michigan. Billy Edwards Jr. was predicted by a lot of people to go there. And then I think he found out pretty quick, like, yeah, they're not going to play me. So he went on up to Wisconsin instead, which probably was a good move. Good job there, Billy Edwards Jr. So Hummus Hero is here with us. Thanks for being here, Hummus. He says, salary cap is coming. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I don't know how exactly it's going to work out. Could work out with the conferences, could work out overall, but if they try to do it with this whole revenue sharing situation, it's not going to matter because you're still going to have collectives throwing money out there for these guys. It has to happen through contracts. It has to happen through the conference or through the NCAA or something like that. So I do believe as you do, Hummus Hero, like there is some kind of salary cap coming. Really, what we just need somebody in charge of college football. Who was it? Did James Franklin say it should be Nick Saban? I think he did. I don't know about that. Nick seems a little angry at everything. He might come in and just get rid of NIL altogether, which he couldn't do that. It's the law now, but still, Yeah. All right, next one, Michigan State. Aiden Childs, second-year starter. He is technically a transfer because he came from Oregon State. He's going to come in and, or not, he's going to come in. He was there last year. He's going to start again for Michigan State this year. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I believe Michigan State hired the quarterback coach away from Oregon State. So that's another piece for them there. But yeah, I mean, I apologize, Michigan State fans. I don't have a whole lot more to say about Aiden Childs other than I think he has a good arm. I think that the ball comes out of his hand very pretty. I don't know if pretty is the best way you want me to describe it, but when I first saw him throw, I was in awe. I was in awe of the way the ball would come out of his hand and the arm talent that he had. Because I didn't expect it. I expected a dual threat QB guy that kind of was maybe a little, he did some good things, but it was maybe a little difficult for him. But at the end of the day, he proved me wrong with his arm and his ability there. So I like Aiden Childs a lot. Just needs to figure out the turnovers, which he did a better job of throughout the year. So he'll increase, he'll improve, he'll get better, and we'll see. Minnesota is an interesting one. Minnesota had brought in transfer Zach Perone, however you pronounce it, from Georgia Tech. He started a few games there, kind of here and there, but yeah, he's coming in as a transfer. Drake Lindsey was the freshman this year that backed up Max Brosmer. I mean, I have to believe Zach Perone, however you pronounce it, he will be the starter for Minnesota next year. You bring him in; he's a transfer portal guy. He's going to add a veteran presence. But when I was reading some of the Minnesota writers about him, they talked about him. He was going to bring experience and depth, and I was like, okay. I don't know. Maybe Drake Lindsey's the guy. Maybe Drake Lindsey just has that good of an arm, and maybe he looks that good. But I have to believe PJ Fleck is going to want to go into the season with another veteran. I know that he's not Max Brosmer or anything like that, but I have to believe he's going to want to go into the season with a veteran. So I'll go with Zach Pyron. I was hoping Mike Alibaba would be here and maybe give us some insight on that. But Mike, if you watch this after the fact, comment and let me know what you think, if it's going to be Drake Lindsey or Zach Pyron. So I'll go with Zach Pyron. That's who I will put what's the word? Not expectation. My prediction on. All right, Nebraska, Dylan Raiola, everybody's favorite quarterback in the Big Ten. I'll tell you, every time I mention him, he gets roasted every time I mention him on Twitter. There are a lot of people that do not like Dylan Raiola. Mostly not Nebraska fans. But there's some Nebraska fans that aren't too fond of him either. But I did a video on Dylan Raiola. I think Dylan Raiola just keep getting better. I think that he's done some things really well, and he's also had some areas where he really needs to improve. But he's just going to keep getting better. He was a freshman this past year. Not everybody can come out with kind of that magic that DJ Lagway did, and DJ Lagway didn't even play the entire year, right? Like Dylan Raiola came in and he kind of had that magic right off the bat. Like against Colorado, he did well. I believe, if I remember correctly, he did well. It really wasn't until that Illinois game that he struggled, which Illinois had good defense this year. So, you're going to struggle with that kind of stuff. So, Dylan Raiola and his Patrick Mahomes, look-alike contestness, we'll see. But yeah, Dylan Raiola, homegrown talent from Nebraska, coming in as a recruit and now starting his second year. You love to see that kind of stuff. So, Northwestern, Preston Stone should be the guy there. Highly rated recruit. Went to SMU. Did not work out for him exactly the way he wanted to. Lost the starting job to Kevin Jennings this past year. He was a starter in 2023. Led the team to, I think, an 8-0 conference record, if I'm remembering correctly, in the Americans. So, he's got some talent. He was not going to start at SMU this next year, so he decided to transfer out. He moves on up to the Big Ten. So Preston Stone at Northwestern could be a good addition for them. We'll see how it works out. I know Zach talked about him as an underrated addition, and I agree. I think Preston Stone's going to have a good year next year. One of the only first-year starters in the Big Ten. I mean, there's a couple others that I mentioned, Zach Pyron, uh, Bryce Underwood and stuff. I expect Julian Sayin to be the starter for Ohio State next year. Now, Ohio State could always go into the transfer portal and get somebody if they didn't feel confident, and there is, some thought process there of like, Julian Sayin isn't exactly super tall and, all that big. And Ryan Day kind of likes taller, big guys. That's why one of the reasons why he liked Will Howard so much. So we'll see. But I think as of right now, there's not really anybody else to go with other than Julian Sayin. Devin Brown is transferring out. I guess he could withdraw from the transfer portal. There's a lot of people talking about how he was going to Cal, and then Cal just picked up that Hawaiian guy from Oregon. He was a 4-star recruit that I think is going to want to go there and start right away, which we meant to talk about him last episode, but we didn't have enough time. So yeah, I think it's going to be Julian Sayin. He is technically a transfer because he came from Alabama and he came in the transfer on over with Caleb Downs and Seth McLaughlin. Seth McLaughlin transferred before Saban retired, and then Caleb Downs transferred after Saban retired, and Julian Sayin was in that same boat. So Billy Tuesday heard OSU staff is high on Sayin. I think they're high on his arm ability and all that stuff. I know Ryan Day kind of likes the the bigger guys. So I don't know if that'll impact it at all. I have no insider knowledge there. I have no idea. I always point that out just because I feel like it's a little bit of a talking point. And Hamasiro says Keen Holtz is still on the roster. JR, he could do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say anything against Keen Holtz, but Keen Holtz also said he was kind of 50-50 off on if he was gonna transfer or not, which kind of leads me to believe like, oh, maybe that means he thinks he won't be the starter. Maybe he really likes the team, so he wants to stick around. So we'll see. I really like Keen Holtz though. I had a whole lot of respect for him going into that Missouri game and battling the way he did. Now it was not exactly very pretty, but he battled, man, and I appreciate that from a guy who's willing to go in there and battle like that. Didn't punk out, didn't do anything like that. So we'll see. Erica says, and I know there's some Ohio State fans in the chat, so I'm sure they'll answer. I have a question for Ohio State. For any Ohio State fan, do you think Ryan Day will be at OSU if he doesn't win the Natty? Just curious your thoughts. I'm sure everybody will be able to answer you in the chat, Erica. My thoughts are that he's safe now. I don't think there's any reason he would be fired or anything like that. Now, the Patriots job is open. That's always been rumored. I don't think he leaves for the Patriots job because they fired Gerard Mayo, I think it was. So I don't think you'll see him leave or anything like that. But if he was not going to be the coach at Ohio State next year, I believe it would probably be because he leaves. I don't see him getting fired. So good question, Erica. Appreciate it. Moving on to Oregon and Dante Moore, I think will be the starter for Oregon. Again, another interesting situation. He transferred in to Oregon after starting his freshman year at UCLA, so technically he will be a second year starter, and technically he will be a transfer, even though he didn't start right after he transferred in. But he looks to be the guy. Looks like they did not have anybody else transfer in or anything like that. I believe Austin Novosad, correct me if I'm wrong, please. This is another one of those situations where I would look this up if Zach were here while he was talking, but I believe Austin Novosad is still with the team. I don't think he got into the transfer portal, but all the rumors are that the Hawaiian kid, and one of the reasons why I'm calling him Hawaiian kid, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I apologize. But one of the reasons why he transferred out of Oregon and is probably, or he is going to Cal now, it's not probably, is because he saw Dante Moore and said, yeah, I'm not starting over him. So if that's the case, Dante Moore is that intimidating of a guy and they just know he is the quarterback for next year, then yeah, he'll be the guy. Penn State, Drew Aller coming back. Now, I do think it's interesting. Right? Drew Aller has the ability to still leave if he wants to. And who's Drew Aller? Where's Drew Aller from? From Ohio. What fan did Drew Aller grow up as of an NFL team? The Browns. Who has a top 3, top 2 pick in the NFL draft this year? The Browns. So the Browns could find their quarterback in Drew Aller for this year. Now, I don't think it's going to happen. Drew Aller's not been in a lot of the mock drafts that I look at. I know he's been in some to possibly go in the first round for this year before he made his declaration that he was going to come back for Penn State next year. But looks like he's going to be pretty high up there prospect, probably middle first round is what you're looking at right now. Top 20, top 10 possibly for next year. We'll see. But yeah, so that's where you're looking at. David, I'll star that, and I'll get back to that after I'm done talking about the quarterbacks. I'm gonna try and clip this video and make it into a additional video to post. So I don't want to get too off topic, but I'll come back to that, David. Purdue. All right, so Purdue's really interesting. Purdue has three different transfer quarterbacks coming in. Let me find out. All right, you have Evans Chuba from Washington State. He does not have a rating on 24/7, so don't know what that rating is. However, he was at Washington State last year. Obviously, that John Mateer guy was the big name that came out of Washington State. So Evans, Chuba, not a huge name. Malachi Singleton comes in. He has an 87 rating on 24/7. The backup quarterback for Arkansas last year, and then EJ Colson from UCF transfers in as well. So you got three different quarterbacks that are transferring in to Purdue. I did a little bit of reading on each one. From what I could find out, it looks like Malachi Singleton will be the guy for Purdue this next year. It would be his first year starting. He did make a start at Arkansas this past year. From everything I read, it was a good start, played well, threw for a good amount of yards, had a touchdown pass. I don't believe he had an interception in that one. So if that's the case, Purdue could find themselves a quarterback coming in from the SEC. Could be a good addition for them there. Honestly, I don't know too much on this one. The whole Purdue program right now is a little bit of a mystery on what's going on. They had a bunch of players leave, and they brought a bunch of players in, a bunch of players from UNLV. Obviously, Matthew Saluka, not going to bring him in after what he did at UNLV and everything last year. So they're going to go elsewhere. But yeah, should be interesting to see what happens in the quarterback situation. That's probably the one I'm the most unsure about right now. Rutgers, Athan Kaliakmanis is going to come back this next year. So Athan Kaliakmanis will start for his third year. He is a transfer, and that'll be interesting to see Athan Kaliakmanis this next year. Hopefully they get a better run game, or a more consistent run game. They had a good run game at Rutgers last year when Kyle Monangai was in there, but when you lost out on him, it was a little bit of a mess trying to move the ball at times when they didn't have him. So and they just got in too many third and long situations. I know there's a lot of people that crap on Athan Kaliakmanis, and I get it. Like a lot of Minnesota fans have bad feelings about him. I get it. Like he left like that and everything. I just think Athan Kaliakmanis is the type of guy who needs to be in the right situation in the right system. And that makes him a bad quarterback, so be it. He's a bad quarterback. I don't think it makes you a bad quarterback to need to be in the right situation and, kind of in the right, offense. And I think he was in the right offense last year. I just think he didn't get I don't think he got the help in the right game that he needed in order to play as well as he should have. So, all right, next one, UCLA. This is another one. Your guess is as good as mine. I do think the top two names in this one are probably going to be Madden Iamaalva from he is a four-star recruit coming in. I believe he is the brother of Nico, and Joey Aguilar, Aguilar, App State transfer. Now, if they get Jayden Rashada, like I said, Jayden Rashada is probably your guy in this situation. If they get Jayden Rashada, I don't think Jayden Rashada goes someplace where he's not starting. So, but if they don't get Jayden Rashada, I think you keep Madden. I think you start Joey this year. Madden is, like I said, a true freshman. Just don't think Deshaun Foster wants to take a chance trying to start a four-star true freshman in the Big Ten. I think he probably feels like he needs to do something this season after some momentum at the end of last season, but are not exactly going a great way for them. So we'll have to see what happens there. But yeah, like I said, if they get Jayden Rashada, should be him. If not, probably Joey Aguilar. USC, Jayden Maiava, second-ish year. You could say first year. You could say second year starting. Well, I guess you could say third year. I missed the UNLV. We'll say second year because he only started, 4 or 5 games this year, so it wasn't a lot. So we'll say second year starting. It is his second year with the program. He started at, I believe it was UNLV where he was, and then he comes over to USC now starting this year. So I like that for them to have him back for another year. Lincoln Riley knows what he's doing with quarterbacks. Jayden Maiava, he had some promising signs this last year, but he also had some issues, some mistakes that kind of cost him a little bit. So I think that Notre Dame game, if he would have been a little bit more clean in that game, they could have had a chance to win it. But unfortunately, they didn't have that. So, Washington, Demond Williams, who is a transfer. He did transfer in from Arizona. So he is a transfer coming in from Arizona. His first year starting will be this year. To my knowledge, they've not gotten a quarterback or anything like that would start. I'm double checking my sheet right now. Yeah, I do not see a quarterback on my sheet for him to start over him. They did get some good, we talked about it earlier, that we get some good defensive transfers, but yeah, they're going to be relying on Demond Williams, and he'll have a good weapon in Dante Cook, who transferred there, the former 5-star from Texas, transferred to Washington. All right, last one. This one's pretty easy. Billy Edwards Jr., the transfer, second-year guy coming in to where did Miller Moss land? Yes, Louisville. Louisville is where he's at. Good combination there between Miller Moss and Jeff Brom. Good combination there. Yeah, Billy Edwards Jr., he's going to be a guy at Michigan. They brought in Danny O'Neal as well, I believe, but I believe you'll see Billy Edwards Jr. and Danny O'Neal will most likely be the guy next year. So your outlook there is first-year starters in the Big Ten. If everything I said is correct, first-year starters in the Big Ten, 6 of them. 6 first-year starters in the Big Ten next year. Second-year starters in the Big Ten, you're looking at 6 of them. 6 second-year starters in the Big Ten. Third-year starters, 5 of them. And then finally, fourth-year starter, hello, Mark Gronowski, 1. 1 fourth-year starter in the Big Ten. That'd be pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Transfers, if you're looking at just transfers, not like transferred in this year, that kind of stuff, if you're looking at guys who have transferred to a Big Ten program this next year, 15 of the starters next year could all be transfers. It's absolutely crazy. The only guys that you're looking at to not be transfers would be Drew Aller, Bryce Underwood, and Dylan Raiola. So if Bryce Underwood doesn't start, we could have 16 transfers starting in the Big Ten next year. That would be absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy if that happens. So, like I said, some of these are a little iffy, right? Julian saying he is technically a transfer, but he was really more of a decommit and then go to Ohio State from Alabama, but still technically a transfer, so a little bit up in the air there. And then guys who transferred in this year, of my predictions, 7. 7 of them would be guys who transferred in this year. And then guys who were recruited, like I said, 15 transfers. That would be 3 guys who are recruited. Bryce Underwood, Dylan Raiola, and Drew Aller. So there you go. That's your QB outlook for the Big Ten next year. If you guys have any questions or anything, let me know. We're going to hit a commercial break really fast. And then after that, we'll talk about some playoff drama and everything. Oh, David.